somebody was breathing really hard into the microphone there. And it wasn't me. It had to be
You're
you.
the only one who has a microphone.
I think it was Amy.
Okay, whatever. And Amy says hi, guys. So, hey, listen, welcome to the Sports Porch Pittsburgh. We're so happy you're here. Thanks for listening to the Sports Porch on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcast, Spotify, anywhere you get your podcasts. And of course, you can catch us on theporcheslive.com, theporcheslive.com.
theporcheslive.com.
And every single Sunday on American Busker iHeartRadio at 4 p.m. Eastern time. So, and I do this every week. I got to do this because we have to do a lot of explaining here. What are we doing right now? It's 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. We are live on social media. We are on Facebook, on the Sports Porch, and on Pittsburgh Beautiful. We're on LinkedIn. We're on YouTube. We're on Twitter. We're all over the place. This is a live show. It's Steve. It's his mic. This is a live show, so we want you to get involved. We want you to drop your comments in the chat down below. We talk primarily Pittsburgh sports. We got a bunch of things we're going to talk about today between the Pirates, the Steelers, Hockey Jesus is in town, what we're watching. And so we want you to be involved, and we thank you for being here. Guys?
Well, hello, Chris.
There you go. See? So the first thing we're going to, I know it's nuts. First thing we're going to start tonight is Steve's favorite, absolutely favorite subject. And it's your Buccos report. The Buccos report, the Buccos are currently winning right now. I believe I'm looking at the I'm looking at the scoreboard.
1-0 Pirates.
1-0 Pirates in the fifth inning. So hopefully
Will that lead hold?
I'll get a bug. Yeah, that's always the question with the Pirates. But your Buccos report after every Pirates game on the podcast on iHeart, Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. And I'm really enjoying doing it. I have a lot of fun with it. Let's talk about the Pirates real quick. Are they going to continue this? I mean, they just dropped 2 or 3 to the Diamondbacks. I thought, when they blasted 13 runs against Arizona at the start of the series after, hitting Eduardo Rodriguez up for 8 runs. Well, not 8. They got 4 against him, but one of the better pitchers in the American League, and then they chased one of the better pitchers in the National League. I thought, wow, their bats are coming back. But lately, the last couple games, yesterday's game was just abysmal from a fielding and a pitching standpoint, just because of all the wild pitches and the errors. And
I believe they said, what was that? The last time that they had 5 wild pitches in a game was 1901.
Yeah, it's like 100 years. 100 years. DG is in the house. Greetings, DG. Thank you for being here as always. I'll tell you, what do I think the issue with the Pirates is? Here's what I really think. Okay.
Why don't you tell us what you really think?
I will, and I'm going to do that right now.
Great.
I think the issue with the Pirates is an issue that won't be solved. And I think we know why. Luke is in the house. Long time no see. What's up, Luke? Good to see you. Thanks for being here again. They do not have a number 4 hitter. They don't have anybody in that lineup that anybody is afraid to pitch to. Okay. And I said this yesterday on the Buccos report. And what I said is, let's get serious. Okay. Nobody is afraid of Brian Reynolds. All right. He's a good player. He's an above average baseball player when he plays really well. He's an all-star candidate, but you're not afraid to pitch to him. Okay. And I don't have to go down the lineup. McCutchen in his prime, he was a guy you had to be afraid to pitch to. And yes, with his experience, you got to make good pitches against him. But they got nobody in that lineup who's going to crush 35 or 40 home runs and bat 260 and get 100 RBIs. And in all honesty, with the lineup where it is right now, and I've watched this lineup day in and day out now, I really think if this was any other team that was willing to spend some money, that in that lineup, they really are one piece away. And that's the piece. But That's the piece they're not going to get. There's not going to be an Aaron Judge in the Pirates lineup now or anytime in the future unless he develops, and then we know what happens when they develop because they want to be paid and the Pirates don't want to pay him. And I'm tired of hearing this. Well, he finally ponied up $100 million for Brian Reynolds. Hey, look, that was the cheap version of trying to keep the band together, okay? Because he also ponied up $85 million for Brian Hayes, who, his
Willie
defense,
Mays Hayes.
Yeah, for Willie Mays Hayes. His defense is decent, but I don't think it's in the upper echelon of the league. I've watched the guy play. He's good at defense. He finally found a good spot, bat number 5 in the lineup, which is where I thought he belonged all along. But if they take that lineup and they put Ji-Hwan Bae first, McCutchen second, Reynolds third, who's going to be fourth, Sawinski or Santana, and then Hayes fifth, and then, fill it out from there. That's the lineup they should play with. But the bullpen is already overworked, as is evidenced by what happened yesterday. They're tied 3-3 going into the 6th inning. The 7th happens. Stevenson comes in and bang, the whole game falls apart. Now the wild pitches and the errors didn't help either, but I just think this is a team that's missing one piece. I think it's going to be a struggle to play 500 for the rest of the season because ownership is most likely not going to add. You guys get your thoughts in on this.
I
Thoughts,
would just say one thing you're incorrect about is they are missing more than one piece.
Okay. I don't mean that one piece would put them completely over the top. What I'm saying is it would complete them as far as being a competitive team day in and day out. That's all.
I mean, they sort of are competitive day in, day out.
Not really. Not lately. No.
Maybe not lately, but
4 of their last 19 games. That's not competitive.
Yeah, but you got to count the good with the bad too. Those early games count.
They do. They really do. And I look, you guys have accused me of being overly positive. I'm just trying to swing that pendulum back. Chris
Klein, lace up your cleats and bat fourth. I think Amy's onto something here.
I'm in. I'm telling you right now, I can hit that long ball.
Earlier on another program, you were professing your skills as a baseball player, which surprised me.
Yeah, but weren't you a shortstop?
Finally, Steve says something. I was.
You don't have a shortstop build.
I was a. You're funny. I was.
Well, he did back in the day, Mark.
Okay,
you seem like a catcher, dude. You catch.
I did it all, man. I played first base. I was a shortstop, and I caught. Yes, those were my primary positions.
So we're all right.
So you're all completely right. Luke says, "Why does this owner not want better?" Steve, you want to take that question?
Well, his better means more money. So anytime he has to shell out more money, that's not better to him. That's actually a worse team. Right. So you have to get the definition of better correct, Luke, in the mind of the owner before you can decide what is better for the team. Now, we think better is putting a product out there. And I'm in the weird position of defending the Pirates in this case, so I'll do it for a brief second. But O'Neal Cruz was the guy you're talking about, and he got hurt.
True.
So they got dealt a bad hand at the beginning of the season when they were performing well. So you're right. Most teams would then say, well, we're playing well. Let's keep this thing going. We'll go out and get somebody to fill that position. And we all know, just like you said perfectly, that the Pirate organization does not think that way. So there's really nothing you can do. And I might add, Mark is perfectly right too. Not only do they not have a fourth cleanup hitter, they don't have a number one hitter. And that's probably their biggest problem, because what the Pirates need to do is get on base, use their speed and their intelligence to, scrap out a few runs. And then maybe if they get enough quality starts, then, they got a chance at being competitive. Their problem is mostly, the way I see it, is that before you get to the reliever pitcher, when they don't have quality starts, there's nothing but garbage there. And they try to make it work, but they can't make it work. So couple that with bad hitting and not having a number one guy or a number four guy. You bring in Kutch, who is only going to get worse as the year goes on because he's a guy.
Sorry, I apologize. I should have muted it while I did that. I had something to get off. I had something I had to get off my screen.
Yeah, sorry, Mark. Sorry, Mark.
Next time, jumped out of an airliner.
Next time, just yell at me as opposed to hit me with that blast of cold air.
I thought I could get rid of you with the spray.
Yeah,
but yeah, I mean,
mosquito.
Those are the Pirates' problems in the most concise way I can say it, because I would rather talk about the scrunchie in my hair than talk about the Pirates on the television.
Of course, the scrunchie in your hair. Yeah, I don't. This is the quandary that you're in, Luke, with the Pirates, is that in any other basically in any other industry, when you have as poor a product that the Pirates have had in previous years, and this year is kind of we'll see, but we kind of know where this is going to go. We hope not, but you would lose money. But in Major League Baseball, you pretty much can't lose money. And so the decision is, do you take the money that the league gives you because of revenue sharing and TV and all that other kind of stuff, and do you use it to improve your team and pocket some cash, or do you just take all the cash? And I'm oversimplifying it, but Nutting takes all the cash, and unfortunately that leaves the fans in a lurch. And I don't know, we're used to losing around here. We really are when it comes to that, and it really, really sucks.
Well, they did make a big signing before Brian Reynolds. That was Wiggle Whiskey.
Yeah.
Good point, Mark.
Yeah, exactly. And I am, perplexed by the Ke'Bryan Hayes signing last year and the Reynolds signing this year. It's to me, and this is just my opinion, to me, this is kind of like ownership's best excuse for saying, hey, look, we signed him. Okay, well, great. All right. That's great. So now you're taking a younger player in Ke'Bryan Hayes and a guy who is relatively young, but believe it or not, Reynolds was one of the guys they got for the Kutch trade a few years ago. Mm-hmm. So, but you're taking a guy like Reynolds and you're locking him up, in a Pirates uniform. And to me, if I'm those guys, you're destroying their career. I mean, they don't see it that way. Obviously, I get it, but
what they were doing, they were trying to take a gamble on, let's bet on this guy and we can get him at a really good price if he turns out to be a superstar.
Yeah, well, that's right. But I think if Reynolds was going to be a superstar, you'd know that by now. Ke'Bryan Hayes, the jury's still out, but I don't like his bat.
I was talking about Ke'Bryan Hayes.
You were talking about Ke'Bryan Hayes. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Okay. So, right. He's got decent defense and all that. So, what's happening now? Well, it's a regression to the mean. And what we have to hope is, in all honesty, that mean stays there. And if they're going to stay relevant, they can stay relevant. Top of the sixth, Pittsburgh is leading Texas 1-0. And I just want to look at, so Luis Ortiz is pitching. And the last time he pitched, he looked horrible. He's holding it together this time. So, the other thing they have is Mitch Keller. He looks like he has finally hit his stride as a pitcher. And we'll see by the end of this year, we'll know. But that he brings up, if he's that good, if he really is that good, I remember another guy named Garrett Cole. So, He's
Eh,
not.
He's not Garrett Cole good.
No, he's not.
No.
But that's what I was going to say.
He
You
won't
actually
be in a Pirates uniform.
you better hope that Max Keller starts pitching a little more poorly because
Mitch.
he screams trade deadline, doesn't he?
I don't think he's that good. I don't think somebody's going to come and get him. Maybe for their third or fourth starter, but
yeah, no, I mean, I think a lot of teams look for a guy like that.
I mean, everybody's always looking for pitching, right? But I don't know. I'd be surprised, but then again, I mean, it is the Pirates. We usually are sellers at the trade deadline. Hey, where are we in the wild card standings anyways? Are we even in the discussion anymore?
Yeah, I think we're tied for it.
Yeah, they're in second place. And let's see, I'll pull up the standings right now while we're doing this,
because I mean, we talk about this all the time, and a regression to the mean for the Pirates means 250.
No, they're tied for the last wild card spot right now.
Yeah, so I mean, if they can stay there or stay within 3 or 4 games of the last wild card spot, I think that's the best we can hope for at this point.
Right.
That's better than last year.
It is.
Oh yeah, well, it doesn't take much to be better than last year, but right. So, I still do the Buccos report. I'm going to keep doing them. So I want to remind you guys, and I want to express my appreciation for everybody that does listen to the Buccos report, and there are a lot of people that do. I was actually very surprised. But you can catch your Buccos report after every Pirates game on the podcast on iHeart, Apple, Spotify, anywhere you get your podcasts. And I'll get one in tonight after the show, and I'm going to keep doing them. I said I would do them until they're back under 500. I don't know. I think I'm just going to keep doing them because I really do enjoy it. And at
some point, you're going to run out of sinking pirate ships, though.
I know. I know.
We did throw a couple Jolly Rogers in there, though.
I did.
Or maybe for a loss, maybe show somebody, walking off a plank.
That's a good idea.
Mix it up with that a little bit.
Thank you, Schwaber. I appreciate that. Yes, AI is only as creative as it's the person doing the input. And I was running out of ideas.
There you go. You come to the best.
All right. Steve wants to talk about the Steelers. And so do you, Mark. So I'm going to let you guys take it. There was some news today that I heard about a certain ex-quarterback, possible, most likely Hall of Famer, who had some things to admit to as far as the individual who I have my man crush on, Kenny Pickett. So you guys take it away.
Yeah, Ben said that he had to admit that he wasn't exactly rooting for him when he first came in last year. And it was really It was more about him not wanting to be forgotten quickly.
Is that just ridiculous?
Well, here's the thing. I mean, I would say on one hand, and I heard a lot of people like, hey, it's really cool that he's being honest. Who hasn't had bad thoughts? Which I kind of agree with. But on the other hand, I still feel like if that was something that I felt, I would have kept that to myself.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of makes you sound like a jerk.
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean? Like, why would people forget you? You won 2 Super Bowls. You're a Hall of Fame quarterback. Why are they going to forget you?
Yeah, don't try too hard.
Is that fragile?
Yes.
Well, I found it ironic that he's speaking up now because when Ben was a quarterback, he didn't really have very many memorable things that he said. He wasn't a big voice for the Steelers. Every time he said something, he'd say the right thing, or he wouldn't want to make ripples. He just said the right things and just kind of kept to himself. It's really interesting now that he's got his own podcast that he's really kind of saying controversial things. And I don't know if that's just for his podcast. It makes me wonder. It really does, because maybe it is true. Maybe that's what he was thinking, but I think he's playing it up a little bit just to get people to tune in and make him more relevant now, which I think is sad actually, because I like football players when they're done playing football just to be quiet. Kind of like ex-presidents. It's like, you were president once. You're not president anymore. Just go make your paintings down in your Texas ranch and everybody will be happy, and that's the way I feel about my ex-quarterback. Like, I mean, I actually do like the fact that he does have a podcast, because I think he'll have some good perspective on, what happens inside the Steelers organization. But I think he's probably fairly limited in what he'll actually say about the Steelers organizations. Because remember who runs the city of Pittsburgh. It's not Mayor Gainey.
It's the Roonies.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, he better watch
Interesting.
himself and how far he goes in talking about that. But
Interesting
I
that
think
you bring that up. Did you hear what he said in his interview with Bill Cowher?
no, I didn't really listen to that interview.
Yeah, it gets right to your Rooney point. He apparently, and Amy brought this up. She shared it with me. She was listening, and apparently Ben had always felt a little off-put, I guess, in that he had heard from people that he wasn't Cowher's first choice for quarterback. That it was either Eli Manning or Rivers.
I've heard this story before, but go on.
Right. And so he asked Cowher, on air, is that true? And Cowher said, no, it's not true. And then Ben said, well, that's what Art Rooney said to me. And he said, well, he says a lot of things. And when you're the owner of the Steelers, you can say whatever you want.
And he
This
does.
is true.
But
Yeah.
he usually, so there's another owner who you don't really hear from very much either. I think that's why it's surprising that, Ben's speaking out a little bit now. Actually, I think what's even more surprising than Ben speaking out is the fact that Kenny Pickett's going on these interviews in the off season. He's not really saying much. Like the things that he's saying, like, have you heard anything about what Kenny Pickett's saying? No. So he's not really saying anything of any substance. So I don't even know why he's going on these interviews, to be honest with you. Maybe he's just trying to become more of a voice of the offense. I don't really know, but it doesn't seem like it's doing him any good, all these interviews.
Well, I don't, when it comes to Ben and what he's saying, I honestly, I think it's ridiculous. Well, I mean, why? Luke made a good point. He said, how are we going to forget about him after all the good times? You know what I mean?
Yeah, we're not.
Like Terry Bradshaw did not leave Pittsburgh with the, on the best of terms, but it's years later now, and everybody loves Terry. Okay, I mean Bradshaw, he won 4 Super Bowls. He's a great guy. The city loves him. He gets a pretty good reception when he comes back now. Nobody's ever going to forget what he did.
Nice family. Love the Bradshaw bunch.
Yeah. Yeah, seriously. But that's a show, right? That's his reality show. Yeah. So, I mean, I think that shows that Ben does not have a level of maturity that a guy his age, and you guys, he's almost 20 years younger than we are, but I mean, seriously, grow up. Okay. Grow up. You had a Hall of Fame career. You won 2 Super Bowls. You are the number 1 quarterback for the arguably most storied franchise in the NFL. You set most of the records. The town loved you in spite of the trouble that you got into earlier in your career. Everybody was willing to look the other way and give you another chance. In today's NFL, you'd be gone. And you have the nerve to sit there and say, I didn't really want Kenny Pickett to do well. Well, cry me a friggin' river, okay?
Sounds like you're being very protective of Kenny Pickett, your crush.
Of course, but I got to tell you, if this had happened to Ben, if when Ben came in, Cordell Stewart was like, I don't really like him. I was hoping he would fail. I'd be like, Cordell, get the hell out of town. And honestly, if you're going to come on a podcast, on your own podcast, and play that kind of BS up, I'm not going to listen to your podcast. Okay.
So right now,
well, you don't anyway.
Right now, the Sports Porch is
interested.
officially reaching out to Ben Roethlisberger.
Yeah, come
on our show and face the music. We love you.
Absolutely.
We want you to stand up for yourself.
Come
Ben,
Well,
on, Porch,
we-
and defend that line of thinking and tell me how that makes you a champion. Champions don't think that way. You should want the Steelers' next quarterback to be just as successful as you were, to continue the tradition. If you don't feel that way, you were never the Steelers' quarterback, because that's not how they play football around here.
Well, he did come around to that thinking, by the way. At the end of everything, he said,
Yeah.
after I got over myself and my ego,
God's
he
sake.
said that he found himself rooting for Kenny Pickett because he realized that he has all the talent and that the Steelers were lucky to get him when they did, and the fans should be thrilled that he's their quarterback for the future.
Yeah,
honestly, just to be fair to the whole story.
Okay. Okay.
Can we get Darcy in the studio to reach out to Ben's people?
Yeah, please.
Darcy, yep, get on that, Darcy. I didn't realize we made a hire. Yeah,
we did. I'm sorry, didn't get you up to speed yet.
That's great. I'm glad we got somebody that bird dog these things. Darcy's on it.
Darcy Blevins.
Darcy Blevins.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. What's this question here?
Let's talk a little bit about.
Wait. One second,
all
Mark.
three quarterbacks. Yeah.
1 second. We'll get to the quarterback. Go ahead. Put that back up. Yeah. Tulski and Duba are going to be in the hockey segment. We'll be talking about that right after this segment. So, Robert, stick around. In about 5 to 10 minutes, you'll get your answer.
Hold your horses, Robert, but we're coming with that for you.
So once again, we want to extend an invitation to Ben Roethlisberger to come into the gauntlet. 3 old guys, we're not insiders.
We got a space right beside me, either here or this side, whatever one you want.
Ben, I may have a better Nerf football career than you.
Yeah, that's possible. That's possible.
I don't think so.
Yeah,
you have two. Yeah, I don't think you won any championships in Nerf football.
Maybe Ben can be the number 4 hitter for the Pirates, and then if he if he's successful.
I don't think Ben has Bo Jackson-like skills.
No. Well, let's talk about the 3 quarterbacks being back. Trubisky resigned. Rudolph resigned.
This is an easy one. This is a softball. Just set it up there for me, Mark. I'm going to knock it out of the park.
There you go. Why, Steve? Why?
Because the NFL just created a new rule that said you are allowed to dress 3 quarterbacks every game.
Do you know what they're calling that rule?
The Purdy rule.
No, the 40 whiners rule.
Oh, well, maybe that's what they're calling it in Philadelphia. and I would agree, by the way. But that's it. That's all it is. So now they can dress 3 quarterbacks. So why not have 3 quarterbacks signed? I actually still think that Mason and the extension on Trubisky were just ploys to try and get him out of here, honestly. But maybe not. I could be wrong about that. I guess it's good to have 1 backup quarterback, but to have 2 of that caliber, I don't know. Seems like a waste of salary.
Yeah, well, I think that, the rule aside, where was Mason going to go? Okay. He does know the system, and Trubisky was already locked up for 2 years or 3? I can't remember.
Well, they extended him for some cap relief.
Yeah, that's what happened.
Right.
So he was signed for this coming season.
Right.
They signed him. They added 2 years onto it.
Okay. So he may or may not be around for that long. So, I think that the status quo was always going to be where this was going to go, because what you have with Rudolph, for better or for worse, and there's a guy that knows the system. And I don't think anybody else was going to offer him a job.
He would have got a job somewhere.
I don't know.
But he would have had to have been released, probably.
I don't know. DG says it's not really a waste if they get him for the veteran minimum.
He's right there.
Yes.
Let's answer me this question, though, because I know you guys will oppose my standpoint here. Now, I do agree and believe that the Steelers are 100% all in on Kenny Pickett. I mean, there's no doubt about that. I mean, he's going to be expected to be the starter this year, and hopefully no one else gets on the field. But with the fact that I guess Pickett now has, a concussion issue from last year, coupled with the fact that he kind of came on at the end of last year, but still hasn't thrown 2 touchdowns in a game. I think they're hoping and expecting that he is going to round into a very good quarterback. But I'm not sure that they're 100% sold. And I wonder, if, God forbid, the Steelers got off to a bad start. Let's say they start 2-6.
That's not what we predicted.
That's not what we predicted.
I did have them at 0-3, though.
But let's say they started at they started 2-6, and Pickett's play has been poor. Maybe they go to Trubisky because Steelers and Tomlin, they're all about winning. They
I don't want to start this right now, Schwab. I don't want to start this right now.
But Mark brings up a good point. That would be a reason to keep 3 quarterbacks.
Oh yeah.
Right.
I get it, and the NFL changed the rule, and that's the way it works. I totally understand. I don't think they're sold on Kenny. I mean, I do agree with Mark. I don't think they're sold on Kenny Pickett 100% because, look, I loved him coming out of college. Everybody knows I'm a Kenny Pickett fan. I right now am a Kenny Pickett fan because of his marvelous hair. No. No,
that's a good reason, actually.
No.
Do you think he wears a scrunchie?
I'm tired of your freaking scrunchies.
I bet he does. I bet he does.
Yeah, he could definitely go man bun.
Yeah, and he can pull it off. Okay. Anyway.
That sounds like a slight to me.
Anyway, I'm always slighting you. Okay. Look, let's get back on track here.
Well, here's the other side.
Let me finish that thought. Let me just finish that thought for real. I am a Kenny Pickett fan because coming out of college, I thought he had the maturity and he looked like he could manage the game. Okay. I still think he is dedicated to it. He's a hard worker and he does have the technical skills and he's got the mind to play the position. But in the NFL, okay, the small sample that we have, which is it's a reasonable sample from last year, he has not proven to me at all that he can be a good quarterback in the NFL. And I don't care what anybody says. Look, he had those late come from behind victories last year, but look, man, you gotta put the numbers up. You have to have a good completion percentage. You have to throw touchdown passes. You have to do it when it matters, which is the entire game. And this is the year where he has to prove that. So are they 100% all in on him this year? Yeah, to start the year, he's the quarterback. That's an advantage that he didn't have last year. But are they sold on him being the answer? I don't think they're sold on him being the complete answer yet, but they're not going to say that publicly. I will. I'm not sold on him being the complete answer. I want him to be, but I'm not sold on it. Okay, I'm done.
The only thing that I was going to say is one of the things that they could have done is they could have just not brought Trubisky back or tried to move him. And so therefore there would be no question at all that it's Kenny Pickett's team and he wouldn't have to look over his shoulder at all. Now, some folks might say, well, hey, he should be able to handle that. But, there's other situations where you just say, hey, look, if Kenny Pickett's our guy and he goes down, then we're screwed anyway. So why even have anybody there?
Yeah, I like that thinking more so than signing these other 2 guys as backups. And I think the thing about Pickett that everybody said last year was, well, he might not be good this year, but he's shown that when he's in the system for long enough that eventually he gets it. Like, remember when he was at Pitt, like he wasn't very good. And then he kind of came along and then he actually was very good at the end, good enough to receive some Heisman Trophy votes. The first guy, since Dorsett to do that. So to me, I think that's why you got to stick with him, because that's who he is. He's not a great talent right up front. He's not, he's not Trevor Lawrence, who had a terrible first season. So I don't think he has as much upside, but he's got to show progress this year. And I agree with you, Chris. The proof in the progress is you have to throw at least a touchdown every game, and some games you have to throw 3 or 4 touchdowns. You have to show you can be the man. The problem with that is, and I hate to use this as a crutch, but we all know it's true, is he's running Canada's offense.
Yep.
And that's not what this offense is geared to do. So there's always going to be that, but he's running Canada's offense bullshit. And as long as that's in play, there's always going to be that, well, maybe we don't really need a great quarterback. We just need somebody good. And that's part of the problem in this equation for us to analyze is what is it? And then we'll be talking about this all year, by the way.
Yeah, of course we will. And I just can't express to you how perplexing it is. And I think you guys are on the same page with me as this, that Matt Canada is still the offensive coordinator of the Steelers. It is one of the most perplexing questions in sports. I'm just, do you agree or disagree?
No, I think last year when the Penguins didn't go out and get a goalie, that was more perplexing than this.
Well, you're hockey Jesus, so of course you would go that way. But I mean, in all seriousness, I cannot for the life of me figure out why that guy is calling the plays now.
It's a loyalty thing.
I mean, just let it go, Chris. We're stuck with it this year.
I know.
What it is.
That's what I was saying last year was we're stuck with it. I get it. But to me, that's like you said, Steve, but he's in the Matt Canada offense. All right. How much longer are you going to stunt this kid's growth by having this guy that, I mean, good Lord. Okay. Enough of that. So, as far as the Steelers go, there's not much more to talk about at this point. We've invited Ben on the show, so hopefully, and maybe Darcy can reach out to him. Who the hell is Darcy, by the way?
Darcy Blevins. Yeah, she's
Darcy
really nice.
Blevins. You haven't met Darcy yet?
Darcy.
She's our booking agent.
Yeah.
God, Chris.
So much goes on here.
Stick with the technical directing.
So much goes on here that I have no idea about. Okay.
Well, she's in sales, Chris.
That's right.
You're the IT guy.
That's right. I am. I've got enough on my plate already, so I got it. Okay. All right. Hockey Jesus. And I want to remind you that the Hockey Jesus during the season preaches after every single Penguins game on the Sports Porch podcast on the iHeartRadio app, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere you get your podcasts. And right now he is paying extremely close attention to the Stanley Cup playoffs, even though our beloved Penguins are not there. But I think the first thing you want to talk about is the potential GM hire that we're working on. The guy from Toronto, right? I did hear an argument about that today. You might have heard the same thing, but tell us what you got, Steve. Tell us what you're thinking about.
I love how you just call him the guy from Toronto.
Yeah, I can't remember.
There's a movie called that.
The guy from Toronto.
It's pretty good. Yeah.
Is it Dubas? Yeah, it's Dubas.
Thank you, David. Yes, it's Kyle Dubas.
That's right.
Actually he is still Toronto's general manager. Well, I guess technically he doesn't have a contract now that their season's over.
Yeah.
So in order for the Penguins to talk to him, they actually have to ask Toronto if they're allowed to talk to him. And supposedly that hasn't even happened yet.
Oh, so, no. I do have an update on that. I heard today that they've been given permission.
That's not what my sources say. My sources from Sportsnet said they're expected to, but I haven't heard that they actually have.
Your source isn't Darcy then, is it?
No, my sources is not Darcy. So if you're using the source, if you're using Darcy as your source, I think you need to find another source. But no, I think so. So they interviewed about 20 people in the first round of interviews, but in the second round of interviews, they've kind of narrowed it down to 5. And Eric Tulsi is definitely one of them. He's currently Carolina Hurricanes assistant GM. I guess he supposedly knocked it out of the park. They really liked the things he had to say, which is a little scary because if you're watching these hockey playoffs like I am, I hate the way the Hurricanes play. I think it's terrible. So I'm not so sure about Tulsky, but I think he's an interesting hire. The other guy, obviously Kyle Dubas, we just talked about from Toronto. He's a whiz supposedly, but what has he really done in Toronto that really makes you excited? Not too much. I mean, early exits, and that's not really what the Penguins are looking for. They also interviewed Dan McKinnon. He's a Devils assistant GM. That's actually pretty exciting to me because I think the Devils really did a good job. Although, boy, they really they really had a lot of first round picks to be able to build the team that they have. But I think they're finally getting it together. I don't think the Penguins have that kind of runway, so I don't think would be a great pick. They also have Jason Carmenos. He's he's actually Carmenos, I think, and McKinnon are former. No, I think it was McKinnon. They were in the Penguins organization for a little while before they moved on to other positions. Carmenos went to Buffalo when Botterill went there. Surprisingly, I didn't see Botterill's name on the list in the second round of interviews. So I don't know if that means that they're already thinking of hiring him for a position. Remember, they're hiring for two positions here: president of hockey operations and a general manager. So maybe they already picked one that they're not interviewing for a second interview. They already know who one of those positions is going to be. Two other names. Steve Greeley. He's actually currently with the Dallas Stars. He, I think, has ties with Boston University, which is where a lot of players and Sully is from. So I think there's just some friendliness there. And Matthew Darsh. He's currently the director of hockey ops for Tampa Bay Lightning. I think actually somebody like that makes more sense. Veteran players trying to get younger. That's kind of what Tampa Bay did when they won their back-to-backs. I think he might be a better immediate fit, but I think, somebody like Tulsky or Carmenos might be looking, further out. I fully expect that the Penguins will pull the trigger this week and hire a GM and or a director, president of hockey operations. They got to make a decision soon. And the fact that they're on the second rounds leads me to believe that they're pretty close. So I bet by Friday this week, the Penguins will name somebody. I'm going to go out on a limb. I think they are going to go with Tulsky. I don't know if they can do that with the Hurricanes still playing, but they must because they're interviewing with the guy. Unless Dubas comes in and just totally knocks their socks off, then I think Dubas might be in the mix. But I think they'll probably go with somebody more familiar, like Carmenos, formerly in the Penguins organization. I think he's just a familiar face. Unfortunately, I think that's the way it works. Unless Sully has some play, then you might see Greeley come in, maybe as a director of operations and not a GM, because he's more of a strategic guy, not really a GM, boots on the ground type guy. So that's what I got. I mean, it's coming down to an end. I'm happy that the Penguins will finally have a GM again, not from the Philadelphia Flyers organization. And I think that can only mean better things for the 23-24 season.
So I heard an argument today that Dubas is not the guy, that he essentially is not as bad as Hextall, obviously, but, hasn't been able to get Toronto over the hump. If you were to, would you prefer Dubas? Because in the past you've talked about him.
Would I prefer Dubas? The thing I like about Dubas is he'll bring in some analytics that the Penguins currently aren't looking at. And he has managed superstars. So I think that's really important. Although they're younger superstars. I think that's a little bit different. So, but I think he's got the ability to be able to know who fits on what line, because I I think Toronto, I think Toronto as a team has actually gotten better. You know what I mean? Like before, they only had a couple superstars, and everybody thought because they had a couple superstars, they were going to go all the way. Well, he actually put together, second and third and fourth lines, and he actually was able to keep some of those guys like Nylander, and the problem is he could never get a goalie. They never had a goalie.
He brought Matt Murray in to be his number one goalie.
Right. And he didn't even play one single playoff game. So, I mean, and he only played like, I think 30 games for Toronto. And that was early in the season when they weren't playing well. So I don't know. I don't think he's like, if they hire him, I don't think it's like, oh great, we're gonna win the Stanley Cup or we're gonna be back to greatness. I don't think he's that kind of hire. Personally, I don't think that kind of hire is out there. That's why I'd rather them get somebody who's kind of been through this rebuild already and just kind of look towards the future. Because the next GM's got to last more than 2 years.
Well, yeah. Well, and they got handed a raw deal when the dude Rutherford, left and Hextall came in, and then he boogered up all the contracts and all that kind of stuff. So,
for sure. So I think they really need to look to somebody who can identify talent and figure out where it goes on the team and do that within the cap. I think that's going to be really important for the GM to come in right away. And by the way, I think the director of hockey operations need to somehow get Mario Lemieux back into the fold. I think with the selling of, Mario sold his shares out to FSG. I still think that there needs to be a place for Mario Lemieux in the organization so that, when things aren't going so well, they can at least, make Mario, kind of the face of, hey, we still got our great guys around. And, the guy did save hockey in Pittsburgh. So I think they need to make him part of that, whoever they hire as director of hockey operations, which, by the way, that would mean Mark Bergevin should be the director of hockey operations. If you hear that Mark Bergevin, and I didn't mention his name because he's not in the second round of interviews, but if you hear his name as director of hockey operations, then for a fact they're thinking of bringing Lemieux back in, because Bergevin and Mario are like best friends there.
Okay. So we got the third round of the playoffs going. Looking forward to obviously the hockey Jesus when the Stanley Cup finals are around. But what's going on there real quick before we move on to what we're watching?
Well, the hockey Jesus is laying an absolute turd. I have yet to win a single game. I had both of my teams that are going to win down 0-2 after 2 games each. The thing that's really interesting about the playoffs, the Eastern and Western Conference Finals, all 4 games have gone to overtime. In fact, the first Carolina game went to 4 overtimes.
Wow. Yeah, that's right. It did. Yeah.
4 overtimes.
That's crazy.
And actually, I stayed up to watch 2 of them. But after 2, I'm like,
good for you.
No, I got to be out on this. And let me tell you, the hockey is just terrible. It's bad hockey. Like, I love hockey, so I'll watch it no matter what. But some of those Carolina, Florida games, I mean, they have like 15 shots at the total at the end of the second period. I mean, nobody wants to watch that kind of hockey. And this is the problem. This is why NHL is such a niche sport, because you have teams who, people might like that style of hockey where it's kind of like not a lot of flash and, it's really tight and, there's a lot of, the games are always close. But the hockey is just not good. It's not flashy. People aren't scoring and they're not celebrating. That's what people really want to see. I get the hockey purists, they love the close games and the goalie battles and, getting in the lanes of not getting shots on goal. To me, it's about scoring, and you're just not seeing any of that left. And we knew that was going to be the case after, Colorado and Boston, bowed out, and then Edmonton didn't make it to the Western Conference Finals. We knew that this was going to be the kind of game that was going to be going on. So that's what's going on. Dallas is down 2-0. Vegas is up 2-0. They won both of their games at home. Florida, I don't know what they're drinking in the water down in Florida, but I mean, between them and the Heat, they might sweep both of their series. And Florida's up 2-0, and they beat Carolina at home. And Carolina's been lights out at home, but Florida,
two overtime wins too.
Yeah,
both by
two overtime wins. And Florida, get this, has an 8-game winning streak on the road in the playoffs. That's ridiculous. I mean, that's ridiculous. I mean, you never hear that, but I hate Florida. I hope they end up losing the next 4.
I like Florida.
They were really hot at the end of the season, though.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, think about it. If your Pittsburgh Penguins beat Chicago and I even forget who they lost to now because I blacked out. Columbus. Right. Yeah. If they would have beat both of those teams, Florida wouldn't even be in the playoffs.
Right. It's the same thing with the Miami Heat. They were a play-in team.
Yeah.
Right. Same thing. You know? So they got, and they weren't actually that hot because, remember, like they lost the game before the game they had to win. So they were just playing like 500 hockey,
right.
but they really turned it on when they got to the playoffs.
So my buddy Jeff is in the house. Hello, everyone. What is he talking about here? Big 33 game.
Oh, it's a Pennsylvania thing.
That's like what I thought.
Preseason football for high school. Like nobody, unless you're in the Hershey area. Well, area.
Yeah.
Really care about the Big 33 game.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
so that means almost nobody.
Jeff was a football player at York Suburban. So, in those vaunted York Suburban years. Huh?
Was he any good?
Did he score a touchdown? He was good if he scored a touchdown.
He was big. That's all I can say.
Oh, so he was an offensive lineman. A Broderick Jones wannabe.
I don't know. He's not that big. He's got to be laughing right now because listen, man, I didn't
defensive line with no sacks.
I think he was. Jeff, were you offensive line or defensive line? I think he might have played a little bit of both.
Well, then he wasn't popular. He just got his head beat around, which means he probably has concussions now, which makes sense why he's friends with you.
Wow, that was a great connection, Steve. Thank you.
Yeah, and he would probably speaking truth.
Yeah, and if he didn't have such trouble with his memory because of those concussions, he would probably remember that. And here he said, laugh out loud, I played offensive line. That's right. He was an offensive lineman.
Did he play guard or center or tackle?
Do we really have to go? Does it matter?
Well, because guards suck.
Actually, Scott Kiefer was a guard. He would take umbrage with that.
Kiefer was a guard?
Exactly. Left tackle. So he was like the Jason Peters of that squad.
There you go. We had some good years back then. But listen, when I went to the football games, I wasn't watching football. All right.
We know.
I was there to play basketball in the never mind.
Never mind.
Yeah, I'm just.
You can only get yourself in trouble with that.
You spend most of your time under the bleachers.
There's a song about that. Yeah. Now
we got one more segment, boys.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm
get to it.
Busy remembering my time under the bleachers.
Well, hopefully that doesn't tie in with what you're watching.
Yeah, well, not for this show. All right. Let me. There's another comment here I got to get in. Big 33 is PA. Oh yeah, that's right. Pennsylvania versus Maryland. Yep. And we still don't care. Okay.
No, don't care.
This part of the show we call What Are We Watching because it is the famous dead zone, as you can see. We're waiting for football to start. Hockey is over.
What documentary are you watching?
I'm not watching it. Well, I did watch a documentary last night, but that's not
Mark, what drug show are you watching?
Yeah, right. Okay, here we go. What are you watching? What is it? Well, we like to talk about what we're streaming and what we're watching and give you a little analysis, and hopefully you'll take our lead and either watch the show or not watch the show, but truly we don't care about that either. We just have fun talking about it and making fun of each other. I'm going to start with me. I'll just start with me. Okay. What?
Shocker, you never start with yourself.
Yeah, that is surprising.
Yeah, because I want to, you guys, I'm going to get mine out of the way. I am watching The Recruit.
I love that.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. I didn't love it. I did finish the first season, and I will most likely watch the second season.
Mhm.
But I felt like the guy that plays the recruit.
Mhm.
I rarely feel this way. So when I do, I believe it to be true. I think he was in like overacting like crazy. Don't you, Schwaber?
No.
What are you doing? Are you watching sports?
Well, here's the
on your
thing.
phone? What's going on?
I just thought it was fun. You know what I mean? It was like I thought it was so funny how like, they were just like you can't, talk. You have to talk in the lingo. You can't actually say what's really going on.
That scene was funny.
I thought I just thought it was very funny how they're doing stuff like that. No, I enjoyed it, man. I mean, I wouldn't say it was like amazing, but it was definitely good enough that I'm going to watch season 2 and look forward to it.
I think just a quick update here. The Pirates have now broken out to a 6-1 lead. I do believe that Marcano hit a grand slam home run.
Well, there you go. Put him in the 4 position.
Okay, so basically, for those of you who are interested, the recruit is about a young lawyer just out of law school who gets hired by the CIA to be in the office of general counsel. So he's not a CIA agent. He's an attorney who looks out to like solve the issues the CIA gets themselves into, but he essentially gets dragged into this whole scenario where he's actually acting like an agent. And it's actually good. I think it's good. I just think this kid overacts. He just overacts. That's just me.
It's a high bar to please Chris Klein.
It really is. It really is. Okay, so the recruit on Netflix. We're going to move on to Mark here. Mark, you are currently watching.
I have watched it. It's in the past tense.
Is that Jennifer Garner?
That's Jennifer Garner. The last thing he told me.
And what was that? What was the last thing he told her?
What did he tell her?
I think if I told you that, it would be it could ruin it.
Oh, okay.
Oh, well then.
Well, basically, she's engaged to this guy, and the guy's got a daughter, and then basically something happens and the guy's on the run, and she has to basically figure out how to protect the daughter and how can she, get back in touch and with the guy. And it was pretty good. I mean, it was just like a 7 episode, so you can get through it pretty quickly. And it wasn't entirely, I sort of figured it out, but maybe like 4 episodes in out of 7, so it kind of, you were kind of like trying to figure out what's going on for a while. So it was pretty good.
One season, or is there another season coming?
I think it's just one season because it's a book.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. The last thing he told me is on Apple TV Plus.
Apple TV Plus, you splurged, Mark.
Yeah. All right. So this one,
Ted Lasso had to.
Oh, you know what? I haven't watched the last season yet.
It's pretty good. I'm enjoying it.
I hate Ted Lasso. I think it's so.
Yeah. Don't worry, he doesn't like.
It's so freaking campy. I like when Jason. Well, we had this discussion in the past.
Yeah.
Okay, Steve.
You're just not really a good watcher either.
Yeah, you're funny.
No,
I'm not. I'm a horrible watcher. I'm a girl watcher.
By the way, I tried to watch Trailer Park Boys again. I just can't. I can't get into it.
Can't get into it.
I can't. I tried. Like it's on my. We'll keep continuing to watch, and I'll like watch an episode, and I'll be like, what was funny about that? I almost feel sad for these guys.
Listen. I watched the first couple episodes too. I don't know if I ever told you that, Schwaber. I did. I'm on the fence. I'm not where Steve is. Mm-hmm. I'm on the fence. But what I find really intriguing about it is that if you could ever label something complete white trash humor, you would label that. And the fact that you find that so hilarious, I think.
Oh man, you got Mr. Leahy, the drunk.
Yeah.
Everything's happening. Everything's happening at the park.
The guy with the drink in his hand, Bubbles. Yeah, I get it.
Bubbles is just classic.
It's so freaking dumb.
Maybe I should have used that instead of what I actually used. But I think this would be more entertaining.
Well,
what in God's name is that? I mean, come on. Could you give us?
Actually, I look at that site, but that's not watching anything.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Okay.
That's why I picked that.
You could go to YouTube and put in the show.
Yeah. I mean, what are you really watching, Steve?
So here's what I'm doing with the set list. So there's this great singer who has this world famous concert out now. You might know her, Taylor Swift. Do you know her? Do you know some songs?
I've heard of her.
Where the Swifties go?
Yeah.
Yeah, where the Swifties go. Yeah. Okay. You probably know some of her songs. Closet, it's one of those songs where you would put it on, but you would secretly say, I don't listen to it. But we know you've listened to the whole album. Like I know you've listened.
Me.
I know you know at least one or two songs on Midnight.
Only because my kids put them on my iPod.
So anyway, she puts out, set list, they just put out all their songs, right? Well, Taylor Swift is, singing 44 or 45 songs every night.
Just crazy.
And that's a lot of songs, right? So I'm not a guy who likes to be surprised when I go to concerts. Like, I want to know what songs I'm going to hear.
Me too.
I want
different than listening to the album. I mean, don't you? I like to be surprised.
Well, so I don't want to be disappointed. But so here's the thing. Songs 37 and 38 are always different. So if you know what song has already sung, you're not going to have a chance at hearing that song in concert. So therefore, I've been tracking every concert that she's been, and on my trusty spreadsheet here, I have all the songs. I have all the songs that she's already sung marked off. And I'm trying to track to see what she's going to be singing next.
Now,
go ahead.
Interestingly enough, Steve, you'd be surprised. I look at that site all the time, and I actually just got tickets to a different concert, and so that's one of the reasons why I was looking. But
Foreigner,
I was on there.
Def Leppard.
No, but I was on
Aerosmith.
there. I think you have zero chance of getting it because it's a newer artist that you guys don't know. I would think
Carlisle.
Well, let me put it. That's not a bad guess. I do like her.
I know.
But let me put it to you this way: this guy's best video is the most viewed video on YouTube of all time, and it's in the billions.
Gangnam Style.
Nope.
Do it, Steve. Do it.
But
that's what it is.
I want to get.
I was looking at the Taylor Swift set list because I was just curious. What does she play?
Right.
And I have to say, because I'm an old school Taylor Swift guy,
right.
I was a little disappointed. I mean, there's some major hits that she was not singing.
Well, she has already sung them, Mark. That's the thing.
So that means you're not going to.
If you're a Swiftie, then you've already heard all of her most popular songs, and you don't need to hear them again.
No, but I think, like for example, a Tim McGraw needs to be in every concert song.
Tim McGraw was only sang in Arizona this year. I'm sorry.
See, that's a problem. I got a problem with that.
Yeah. Well, she has like over 400 songs she could choose from. Like between now and when she comes to Pittsburgh, she's got to sing in New York, Chicago, and Detroit. There are 14 songs that are coming off the board, and I'm going to be bitterly disappointed by probably 8 or 10 of them.
So why do you put yourself through this torture? Because it sounds to me like by the time she gets here, you're not even going to want to go.
Oh, no, I definitely am going to want to go. I would not miss my third Taylor Swift concert for the world.
Taylor Swift not singing Tim McGraw, to me, is like U2 not singing With or Without You.
No, I would disagree. I would say Love Story. That would be the equivalent. And she does sing Love Story. So, I mean, you have to, there are just too many hits. And even in the era of the Eras tour, she can't sing them all. So anyways,
gotcha.
I
Okay,
think
this is just an extra.
I'm going to be prepared for this Pittsburgh concert. I'm going to have predictions on the album she's going to choose because it's nearly impossible to actually choose the song. But I am going out on a limb for those of you seeing her in New York, which will be her next concerts, May 26th, 27th, and 28th. I'm going out on a limb. This is gonna shock some Swifties. I think she's gonna sing Cornelia Street. And I know it's about her breakup with Joe Jonas, but I believe it's going to happen. So if you got tickets to New York, Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, I think you're going to see a great song. Of course, she's going to sing Welcome to New York, of course.
Now, Chris, actually, the other reason why I go to that site is because when I see somebody who I haven't seen before, I like to see what do they sing and what do I not own so I can get it and I can know those songs.
Okay,
right. You want to be prepared.
That's fine. But I have a question for you, Steve.
Just a question.
Are you 53 years old now?
I will be in a few weeks. You can send me any birthday present you'd like to celebrate.
Yeah. Oh, I got a birthday present for you.
All right. Hopefully it's not a hot dog.
I was going to say Hebrew National, but I knew I'd get myself in trouble. So I
like Hebrew National.
I retract that statement.
That's my brand.
That's no, what I'm saying is what the hell are you doing?
What do you mean? I'm getting ready for a concert. Don't you ever first of all, have you been to a concert lately that isn't Pearl Jam?
I'm thinking.
So the answer is no. So therefore, you don't know how to prepare for a concert in the age of 2023.
Right.
The way you do that,
you did stop listening.
That's not what I do.
The way you do that is you first of all, you have to listen to the most current album. And since we know she's playing the Eras tour, you have to be prepared for all the albums, and that takes time and effort. In order not to be disappointed, I really hope that, she plays Change. That's really the song I'm looking for. So Taylor, I know you listen to our podcast. If you play Change in Pittsburgh on Saturday night, you will have made my life, and I can die the next day.
Steve will take off his shirt for you.
Oh no, I will not. I have a lavender vest ready to go. I'll show you the guy. I got patches for it. I'm ready to go.
What? Wait a minute.
You can't just go to a concert in a Yinzer shirt to a Taylor Swift concert.
Wait a minute.
You gotta get all dressed up.
Lavender vest with patches on it.
Oh yeah. Definitely.
I'd like to. Can you take a picture of that for us?
Yeah.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, we'll do
I
it next week
on the next show. I do.
Everybody coming back next week. They're going to get a sneak preview of my Taylor Swift vest.
I mean, I know. Look, we've known each other. We've all known each other for a long, long time. But
so this should not surprise you.
Yeah, but that's the thing. It does, and that's worrisome.
Well, maybe we need to spend more time together.
No, I don't think that's the case at all. As a matter of fact, I'd like you to stay a minimum of 50 feet away from me when we are together.
Only when I wear the vest, I promise.
Don't you ever wear that damn vest anywhere near me. No, listen, we got to end this show here because we're going overtime. But the only thing that I want to say about concerts is I guess I look at it different than you guys. I go to a concert to enjoy the concert, and that's it. And I'm there for the entire atmosphere. I'm not saying the way you guys do it is wrong. It's just much more detailed than me. Do you know what I'm saying? And like, I don't care what they play. I'm just happy to be there. I don't know why I would spend an inordinate amount of money for a concert ticket and then like make spreadsheets about what I think they may or may not play and then set myself up for the ultimate disappointment because she didn't play Cornelius or Tim McGraw or whatever the hell it is she played.
No, she's already played those. She's already played those. You're not going to hear them.
Whatever. Okay. Whatever. So, okay. All right. Mark answered DG's question. Okay, guys, you around for Memorial Day next week, Steve?
It's this weekend, and
yeah, I mean this weekend. Yes, that's what I mean. Next Monday. Okay, cool. So, listen, everybody, I want to thank you for listening to the Sports Porch podcast on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, excuse me, or anywhere you get your podcasts. And remind you that you can always catch us on the World Wide Web because it's open 24/7 at theporcheslive.com, theporcheslive.com.
theporcheslive.com.
Right on cue. Right on cue. And American Busker iHeartRadio every Sunday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. And thank you guys for supporting us and following us on social media and watching us live every Monday night at 7:30. And boys, I would say that's it. We are out. All right, guys, have a great week.